You take a loss. Your chest tightens, your hands feel heavy on the keyboard, and something inside you says, take the next trade right now, make it back. That feeling is not your intuition. It's a chemical storm. Adrenaline and cortisol flooding your system in milliseconds. Your emotional brain just hijacked the part of you that knows better. And here's what never gets talked about. That entire chemical surge, the full fight or flight response your body just launched, it passes through your system in roughly 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's all your body needs to flush the chemicals and return to baseline. But most traders don't wait 90 seconds. They react in the first 10. They slam the buy button, double their size, or abandon their rules entirely. And then they spend the rest of the day digging out of a hole that didn't need to exist. Today we're breaking down what happens inside your brain when you take a loss. Why 90 seconds is the most important number in trading psychology, and how to use that window to stop the cascade before it starts. Now you might be thinking, 90 seconds sounds too simple. I get it. If controlling your emotions was as easy as waiting a minute and a half, every trader would be profitable. And look, you're not wrong to be skeptical. The 90-second rule isn't a magic trick, it's a biological fact that most traders have never heard of. Neurobiologist Jill Bolte Taylor describes this process in her research on how the brain handles intense emotions. When a triggering event happens, your body releases a cocktail of stress chemicals. Those chemicals surge through your bloodstream, hit your nervous system, and get flushed out. The whole cycle takes about 90 seconds. But here's the part that changes everything. If the chemicals flush in 90 seconds, why do traders stay tilted for hours? Why does one bad trade ruin an entire week? The answer isn't in your body, it's in your mind. It's the story you tell yourself after the spike that keeps the cycle going. And that story is where the real damage happens. Let me show you what this looks like. Imagine a trader named Marcus. He's been trading for 2 years, mostly disciplined, follows his system. Monday morning, he gets a clean setup, risk is defined. He takes the trade. 30 minutes later, it hits his stop, down 1%. That's fine, it's within his rules. But then the stock reverses without him. It rallies 3% in the next hour. Now Marcus isn't thinking about his process. He's thinking, I just left 4% on the table. That thought is not the initial 90-second chemical surge. That surge already passed. This is a secondary emotion, frustration layered on regret, layered on self-doubt. Each new thought triggers a fresh chemical cycle. 90 more seconds of cortisol. And Marcus doesn't even realize he's the one keeping the storm alive. So what does he do? He takes 3 more trades in the next hour, all oversized, all without setups. By lunch, he's down 4%. One clean loss became a blown day. If you've been through something like this, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your experience. To understand why this happens, we need to talk about a part of your brain called the amygdala. It's a small, almond-shaped structure deep inside your temporal lobe, and its job is survival. When the amygdala detects a threat, real or perceived, it triggers your fight-or-flight response before your conscious mind even knows what happened. This is called an amygdala hijack. The emotional brain fires in milliseconds. The rational prefrontal cortex, the part that holds your trading plan and your risk rules, takes a full second or more to catch up. So for a brief window, your emotions are driving and your logic is locked in the trunk. In trading, the threat isn't a predator. It's a red number on your screen. But your amygdala doesn't know the difference. A $200 loss triggers the same survival circuitry as physical danger. Your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, your breathing gets shallow. And in that moment, every decision you make is filtered through fear, not strategy. The good news is, this hijack is temporary. The chemicals flush. The prefrontal cortex comes back online, but only if you let it. Here's a question worth sitting with. If the chemical surge passes in 90 seconds, why do most traders stay reactive for hours, sometimes the entire session? The answer comes from Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman. His research proves something traders feel in their bones every day. Losses hurt roughly twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. He called this loss aversion. $500 loss doesn't just feel bad. It feels as painful as missing a $1,000 gain. Your brain assigns a weight to losses that is completely disproportionate to reality. And that distortion creates the secondary emotional spiral. You take a loss, the chemical surge, then flush. 90 seconds, done. But your mind says, that shouldn't have happened. I should have seen it. Each thought is a new stimulus. Each one triggers a fresh 90-second cycle. Kahneman's research shows that humans are not rational about losses. We're wired to overweight them, to ruminate on them, to let them define our state far longer than the initial biology demands. Let me give you a story that makes this concrete. Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest traders who ever lived, described how early in his career he lost 70% of his account. 70%. Most people would quit. But what separated Jones from the traders who blow up and disappear isn't talent. It's what he did in the space after the pain hit. He didn't pretend the loss didn't hurt. He didn't try to trade his way out of it the next morning. He stopped. He assessed. He rebuilt his rules from scratch, starting with the principle that protecting capital comes first, always. That pause, that willingness to sit in the discomfort without reacting, that's the 90-second rule in action, before anyone had a name for it. Jones went on to return 62% during Black Monday in 1987, while the market lost 20% or more. The difference between his worst moment and his greatest wasn't a better strategy. It was a better response to pain. Now here's where it gets worse. The secondary emotions, the ones that come after the initial spike. Those are where cortisol does its real damage. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone. During the first 90 seconds, it serves a purpose. It heightens your senses, prepares you to respond. But when you keep replaying the loss, cortisol stays elevated far beyond that initial window. Research shows that elevated cortisol impairs decision-making, narrows your focus, and pushes you toward risk-seeking behavior. It literally makes you less sharp and more reckless at the same time. Think about what that means for your session. You took one bad loss at 10 in the morning. By noon, you've been marinating in cortisol for 2 hours because you never stopped the mental replay. Every trade you took in those 2 hours was filtered through impaired judgment. The cortisol didn't keep you sharp, it kept you trapped. So let's talk about the space. There's a principle often attributed to Viktor Frankl that goes like this: between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is your freedom to choose your response. Whether Frankl said those exact words or whether they came from thinkers like Stephen Covey or Rollo May, the principle is profound. Most traders don't even know the space exists. A loss happens and their next action feels automatic. Like there's a straight line from feeling pain to pressing the buy button. But there is no straight line. There is a gap between what you feel and what you do. And the 90-second rule gives that gap a number. What's your biggest struggle when it comes to controlling your emotions after a loss? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I read every single one. The chemical surge is not your decision. It's your biology doing what it's designed to do. But what you do after those 90 seconds, that's entirely your choice. This brings us to the turning point. Everything we've talked about, the amygdala hijack, the cortisol loops, the loss aversion, the secondary emotions, all of it leads to ONE core skill, the ability to observe your emotions without becoming them. UCLA neuroimaging studies on affect labeling found something remarkable. When participants simply named the emotion they were feeling, the intensity decreased, not through willpower, not through suppression, just through the act of naming it. Labeling an emotion activates the prefrontal cortex, which puts a brake on the amygdala's panic response. It's like flipping a switch from reactive mode to observer mode. For traders, this is transformational. Instead of thinking I need to make this back, you think, I'm feeling frustration from that loss. That simple shift from experiencing the emotion to observing it creates the space we talked about. It buys you those critical 90 seconds. And 90 seconds is all you need. Here's the practical framework. When you feel the spike after a loss, you're going to do 4 things. Step 1, name the emotion out loud. Say it. I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling anger. I'm frustrated that my stop got hit. This engages your prefrontal cortex and begins breaking your amygdala. Step 2, hands off the keyboard. Physically remove your ability to place a trade. Stand up if you have to. Break the direct line from emotion to action. Step 3, breathe and wait 90 seconds. Not 60, not 45, the full 90. Set a timer on your phone if you need to. Watch the feeling rise, peak, and fade. Step 4, ask yourself one question before you touch the keyboard. Is the next trade I'm about to take in my plan? If the answer is no, walk away. If the answer is yes, take it with full confidence. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about giving your rational brain time to come back online before you make a decision that affects your capital. Now let's go deeper. Brett Steenbarger, one of the most respected trading psychologists in the industry, talks about deliberate practice as the foundation of emotional mastery. Controlling your emotions in real time isn't something you can learn from a book. It's a skill you build through repetition, the same way athletes build muscle memory. Here's what that looks like for the 90-second rule. After every trade, win or lose, you write down what you felt, not what happened on the chart, what happened inside you. Over weeks, you start to see patterns. But maybe your worst decisions happen on Mondays after a losing Friday. Maybe your tilt trigger isn't losses, it's being wrong about a direction you were confident in. Steenbarger calls this building an emotional trigger map. You're not reacting to emotions anymore, you're studying them like you study chart patterns. And once you can predict when the spike is coming, you can prepare for it. The 90-second pause becomes automatic instead of forced. There's one more piece that most people miss: the story in your head. After a loss, your brain doesn't just process the numbers, it writes a narrative. I'm a bad trader. The market is out to get me. I always get stopped out at the worst time. These stories feel true, they feel like facts, but they're interpretations. And every interpretation triggers a fresh emotional cycle. Here's how to break this. When you catch yourself writing the story, reframe the pressure. Instead of, I just lost $500, try, my system gave me a signal and I followed it. The outcome was a loss, but the process was correct. Instead of I should have held, try, I managed my risk according to my plan. This isn't positive thinking or pretending losses don't sting. It's accurate thinking. You're replacing an emotional narrative with a factual one, and facts don't trigger 90-second cortisol cycles. If this is hitting home, subscribe. We go deep on trading psychology every week, and this material can genuinely change how you experience the market. Let's bring it all together. The market will always trigger you. That's not a flaw. That's every trader's reality. You're putting real money at risk in an environment designed to create uncertainty, and your body is wired to treat uncertainty as danger. The 90-second spike is going to happen. Cortisol will surge. You can't prevent that, and you shouldn't try. What you can control is what happens next. You can name the emotion instead of drowning in it. You can take your hands off the keyboard instead of reaching for the buy button. You can wait 90 seconds instead of reacting in the first 10. And over time, you can map your triggers so well that the pause becomes second nature. The traders who last in this game aren't the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who feel everything and still choose their response. 90 seconds. That's the gap between a blown account and a career that lasts. The chemical storm will pass. The only question is whether you let it.